Hello and welcome, dear learner. I am Dr. Telaram Meher, Assistant Professor, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Odisha State Open University, Sambalpur. Today, in this video lecture, we are going to discuss on the topic data and its type. As you know that data is the important aspect, one of the important aspect to conduct the successful research, whether it is media research, communication research, or any type of research. Data is one of the important part. As you know that data is the base of all research and help us to collect, understand and information. There are two main type of data. That is one of the primary data and second is the secondary data. Primary data which is collected or directly through the method like observation, interview and questionnaire, and secondary data which is already available in the resources is available like books, websites or government records. While primary data is more accurate, it takes time and effort, but secondary data is quicker, cheaper as compared to the primary data, but may not always fit well. Some modern method like warranty card, story out and content analysis also used in the research. Choosing the right method is the key of to get the successful and reliable result. As you know that if you discuss about the learning objective means what are the objective of this video lecture, the concept of this objective is after going through this video lecture, the learner will understand the concept of primary and secondary data, the various advantages and disadvantages of primary and secondary data, and the trace some other method of data collections. If you discuss about the introductory part of this data, means good research cannot be done without gathering relevant data, and it forms the foundation for a successful analysis and decision making. Data refer to the raw fact and information that can be collected and measured and analyzed to draw the conclusion. In research, data is classified into primary and secondary types depending on how it is collected. The primary data is directly gathered from original sources, whether the essential for ensuring the accuracy and relevance to the research. Researchers also use different methods like the observation, interview, questionnaire, schedules to collect the primary data collections, and each with strength of limitation. Other techniques such as focus group, discussion, case study are also used. Understanding this method helps researchers choose the best approach for their study, considering factors like cost, time and reliability. As you know that what is actually primary data? The first data type is the primary data. Primary data, as you already discussed in this previous slide, primary data is the information that researchers collect specifically for their study. It has been compiled to publish elsewhere. Company usually invest time, money, resources in gathering the primary data when faced important or unique question or problem that require fresh, relevant information. This data is original, directly related to the issue at hand and current. Method like interviews, survey, questionnaire, scheduling are commonly used to collect the primary data, while primary data is highly expensive to collect and the process may involve challenges such as sampling issue or biases. If you discuss about the advantages of primary data and the benefit of the primary data, is the primary data are original and relevant to the topic of the research of the study. So the degree of accuracy is very high. Primary data is that data that can be collected in several ways like interview, telephone survey, focus group, etc. It can also be collected across national borders through emails and post. It can include a large population and wide geographical coverage. Moreover, primary data is current and it can give a better and realistic view to the researcher about the topic under consideration. The reliability of the primary data is very high because these are collected by the concerned and reliable party. If you discuss about the disadvantages or limitation of the primary data means primary data collected has several disadvantages also. First, when interview are involved, the coverage is often limited and to reach the wider audience, more researchers are needed. It also requires a lot of time and effort, and by the time the data is collected, analyzed or reported, the research issue may become outdated, making the study less relevant, and designing the survey can be tricky as the questions need to be simple and clear and have the clear objective for the respondent. Additionally, some respondent may not provide timely answer or may give wrong informations. They are involved higher, and it also the question or also have lots of higher the cost of data collection, which may reduce the research importance. The more people and time is involved in the higher the cost of data collection maybe is the major disadvantage of the primary data. And moreover, data collection often require trained individuals, and inexperienced researcher may end up gathering the inaccurate and insufficient data. If you discuss about what are actually the collection of the primary data, how we collect the primary data, what are the procedure we follow to collect the primary data, there are various type of collection procedure like observation method, interview method, questionnaire method, and schedules are the primary type of the method to use the collection of the primary data. Then what is actually coming under the observation method? Observation method is one of the method which is used to collect the primary data. The observation method is crucial data collection technique, especially in the behavioral science, where the researcher observe people in their natural environment without influencing their behavior. Unlike casual observations, this method is structured, focused, and systematic, with data being recorded carefully and planned in advance. Researchers use their five senses sight, hearing, touch, smell, and sometimes taste to gather the information, immersing themselves in the environment and documenting behavior without interacting with the participant. One of the major advantages of this method is its ability to provide the authentic insight into a real world behavior. It is also a particular useful when participant cannot reliably or truthfully provide information, such as in the study of unconscious behavior or sensitive validity issue, by allowing the researcher to directly witness the behaviors. However, the observation method is discussed and have also some challenges, also have some limitation. It can be expensive and time consuming, often require significant resources and multiple observer. The data collected may be limited to what is visible or accessible to the researchers, sometimes leaving the gap in the study. The success of this method depends on the researcher experience and skill. External factor like distraction or access issue may be one of the major issue and challenges a researcher can face in the time, can also interfere, making the method complex through valuable for the certain such research methods. If we discuss about the next is the interview method. We know that interview method. The interview method is a widely used technique for data collections, where the researcher personally meet informer or informants or the interviewee and communicate with them via phone to ask the question related to the study topic. The interviewer uses a structured set of questions or a questionnaire to guide the discussions, but may also ask additional follow-up questions based on the informer responses to gather more detailed information. This method involves cross-examining the informant to ensure that the data is collected is relevant, clear, and accurate. As we already discussed, the interview can take various forms such as in-person interview, depth interview, telephonic interview. Depending on the researcher and research requirement, we can use techniques to take the interview. One of the significant advantages of the interview technique is that directly interact with the informant, there are no chance of non-responses, ensuring the collection is of reliable data. Additionally, the interviewer ability to ask follow-up questions and verify responses increase the accuracy of the information. However, the interview method has also some of the limitation or drawbacks. It can be biased as the interviewer's personal view may influence the responses. Informant might also be reluctant to answer the personal or sensitive questions. These are the drawbacks in the interview method. If you talk about the questionnaire method, which is also coming under the one of the to collect the primary data, the questionnaire method is a popular way to collect the data, especially in the large scale research study. It involves set of questions prepared in advance and shared with the respondent to gather specific information related to the research topic. Questionnaire can be given in the printed form or through the Google form or sent through a email, share by through the website or even through mobile apps. This method is simple, cost effective and helps to reach the large number of respondents. And it is also one of the cost effective method in the question, in the research. The question may be close-ended where the respondent choose from a given option, or open-ended where they can write their answer freely. A well-designed question are also clearly and easy to understand. Its biggest advantages is that it reaches people across the globe, different region, and allow them to the respondent at their convenience. Respondent can think before answering, making their responses more thoughtful and accurate. It also avoid interviewer bias since the participant answer in their own words. However, the questionnaire method also have some of the limitation drawbacks. If we talk, then sometimes people do not return to the field questionnaire, which affect the accuracy of the result. Also, give the wrongful answer, and they also don't give any interest in fill up the questionnaire form. Also, it is also not suitable for those who are illiterate or unwilling to cooperate. Researchers have no control once the questionnaire is sent, and if the questions are not clear, it can also lead to a wrong and incomplete answer. It is also difficult to follow up or ask deeper question. It is one of the drawbacks. However, it is more expensive and time consuming and often used by government or large organizations during the big survey like population censuses. In both the method, careful planning, clear questions and trained staff are essential to collect useful and trustworthy data. If you discuss about beside the commonly used method, there are several methods like the warranty card, store audit, projective techniques, depth interview, or content analysis. The one of using the warranty card, where the customer fill in a small card with their detail and send back to the seller. This helps the company learn about their customer. Another method is store audit, means where a sales person visits shops regularly to observe and record things like how much of product is sold, helping them to company understand the market trends. If you discuss about the projective technique, it is also one of the technique are used mostly by the psychologists to find out the hidden thought or feeling of people, often without them realizing it. These are helpful to understanding the deep emotion or reason behind the people's behavior. If you discuss about the depth interview, means depth interview are long, detailed conversation with the people to learn about their real thoughts, feelings and desires. If you discuss that need a skill interview to take the lot of time, and also it also take lot of time. And lastly, the content analysis. Content analysis means studying a written or spoken material like books, newspaper or speeches to understand what messages they are giving. Earlier, this was done by counting word or topics, but now it's more understanding of meaning behind the content. All these methods are useful for collecting the special kind of information in research. If you then what is secondary data? As you know that primary data is collected instantly and secondary data is already available data. And secondary data means information data is collected by someone else in the past for a different purposes, but is now being used by a researcher for their own study. This data can be found in books, report or website or company record and come from the either inside the research organization, internal or external, using the government agency or research institution. Using the secondary data, it helps the same time and money, and it can give a basic understanding of the research topic. However, researchers need to be very careful while using it because the data might not fully match their need or might be outdated, incorrect or incomplete. That's why it's important to check whether the data came from, where it is collected, and if it suits the new study. As Dr. A.L. Wowley said, it is not safe to trust the published data without knowing its meaning and limits. And researchers should always think critically before using it. And we know that what are the advantages and disadvantages of secondary data? As you know that secondary data has also some advantages and disadvantages. Has both advantages. One big advantage is that cheaper and faster to collect the secondary data. Since it has already been gathered by someone else, it also helps researchers to learn from the work of experts from around the world. And secondary data can guide the researcher in the right direction and save the time, effort and money, making the study more valuable. However, there are some limitation also, that data may not always be reliable, especially if it was collected by someone. Data may be misleading or data may be incomplete and comes from another location is very old. Sometimes the data can be confusing or changing the actual result of the research. As you, in the summary, if you sum up this video lecture, then data is the key of any research, and it is the mainly of two types: primary and secondary data. Primary data is collected directly by the researcher through method like observations, interview, questionnaire, and schedules. It is accurate but time consuming and costly. And secondary data is already not always match the research need. Other methods like case study, focus group, and experiment are also used in the method of data collection. Picking the right method helps the ensure the research gives the correct and useful result. And secondary data is already collected by others and easy to use, but it may not always match the researcher needs. Thank you for watching this video lecture. Thank you all.